Hello, chat.
You want to say
soon.
I gotta crank it?
You gotta crank it, bud. But you gotta crank it.
I know way too much about my cranking it.
What do you mean?
No comment.
No comment.
And then I go here.
I'll beat it first.
Thank you, Jan.
Oh, chat. I forgot to tell you to follow me on Letterboxd. Christian_RG.
Check.
Follow me on Letterboxd. It's the only thing I care now. It's my hyperfixation for like
Hell
this
yeah.
couple of weeks.
Let's go. Okay, there's that. Let's, well, keep playing that. We'll get the music going. Okay, well, don't work. That's an option.
It's not working.
Your
Like,
Elgato
shit,
software, I don't know why I should ever expect you to work. Alright.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now!
You guys don't hear that?
No.
Nope.
But you might hear clapping fading out now.
Yep.
Correct.
Alright. Volumes are correct on that, so we're good to go. Let me just move OBS.
I don't know, Cody. Well,
Let me
let's
bring
see.
up last of the
Like of tomorrow?
Nintendogs.
How are we feeling?
Probably. I've not had time to get my setup yet. I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. So unless
All right.
I put the Wii U in and it just doesn't work.
Mike, just before I forget, how many Wii remotes do you have?
I mean, I assume enough. How many do I need? What the fuck?
No,
kind of question is that?
No, I'm asking for help for PAX.
For PAX, I don't know.
Listen, buddy, you better get ready.
sweaty.
We're going to strap them all over you.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
That'd be messed up. We're not that crazy. If you have like 3, that would be excellent that you could bring to PAX.
I mean,
Just
I don't know if
let me know. Let me know by tomorrow.
okay. Yeah, cool. It's like tomorrow I'm going to dig all this shit up.
Yes,
Maybe
I'll
after the
talk to Dan,
podcast I'll at
too.
least like get my box up here or something. Maybe I'll try to put it up after the show.
Okay,
while
cool.
You're editing.
Oh, okay.
May as well do that.
All
Like,
right.
if I'm not dead.
Test. 1, 2, 3.
I think we are. Well, let me get chat here. I knew I was forgetting something, and then I'll tweet, and then we'll be good.
Can we get Jeff Cam?
Yeah, you guys can get
Jeff
Jeff
comes
Cam,
up.
sure.
Yay.
Wait,
Jeff Cam Vendetta.
what's happening there? There it is.
I don't know. It's something weird's going on. There we go. Ooh, bright.
There is YouTube Studio.
For I want a little bit behind the scenes. We have a different camera from Chef's Discord, so it's a different angle. So it always
Yeah, you have a slightly
fits
different angle.
what I look.
Did Alex Van Aken put out new music? Very cool.
It's down his crouch. It's like, oh shit, we don't want to see that, but he just says like the camera has to go here between my legs. Like okay.
I demand it. It's in my rider. Okay, chat. I'm not forgetting you. Here you are. Hello.
Yeah, it's a fit cam. We only got the good stuff.
Elevate me to the sky. Whoa.
All right, timestamps working. Sound working. I am ready.
Yep, I am finishing the tweet. There we go.
Put it on Bluebird too.
Okay.
No, what is it? Blue Sky. My bad.
I don't have that open, but I'll put it on Threads.
I haven't used it in a while. To be honest.
Something isn't working because of a technical error we're working to fix. Fucking Zuckerberg? Zuckerberg. I forgot his name for a second. Man, that's nice. I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's cool. I wish that for me.
Yeah, I'm like
That's a
ready
nice-
to forget Elon Musk's name next. That would fucking be the life,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Holy shit. All right. Okay. Tweeted and threaded and posted. All right, you boys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I am counting us, and we are going live in 5, 4, 3.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now! Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
Hi, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I am a Nintendog.
And we are the last of the Nintendogs. Today, let's talk about that Indie World Showcase package with that Nintendo Partner Direct. And let's just do that. That's enough. Is that not enough? Do I have to say other things? Do I have to make everything a goddamn list around here?
You got to entertain the people, and the people demand lists.
Speaking of entertaining, Jeff, do I entertain you? Do you find me boring? Do you find me difficult to listen to? Look.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at chat while you were talking earlier today. Am I still gonna get shit for this? I'm
if people
sorry.
didn't see it. Look, I've just been thinking a lot about talking about that Avowed thing. Pretty important game coming up. One not very many
And I
people
was
got to play
genuinely interested. But I was looking up the difference between American and UK beer. So, you get it. You understand.
I'm just saying. I sure was talking about guns in that game for a while.
It's like I came back. You were like, there was a lot more when I did come back and start listening, and I was like, well, this fucking sounds like a fantasy game where you have. You have a sword and a wand and stuff like that. And then you said guns. In my head, I was picturing an AK-47. So it's like that when you said guns, there was no like flintlock, like, oh yeah, little magical gun that they might have had, the pirates might have had. I was not working in that space. Listen, yes, you entertain me, Mike. Don't worry. You don't like entertain me as much as the thought of Dan sitting in his house without power when it's like 1,000,000 degrees in where he's at, and boy, that must suck. That's rough stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty awful. Does he have power yet?
I don't think so. No. That's.
Are we called?
We have a plan. We have a plan for Blight Club. If he can't, he wants to do Blight Club tomorrow. He's determined. Right. Also, I think that would be a nice. He has a plan to like get out of the house and do something about that and go to a place that does have power and maybe air conditioning. So.
Okay.
Dan says it's pitch black.
Yep.
That sounds terrible.
Just go to sleep, Dan. Honestly, just go to sleep. I guess it's hot. Shit. Yeah. I don't know, man. Good luck.
Jeff, speaking of sleep, I'm a little run ragged here. I feel, exhausted. I think what hurts most is just like, I can't relax because I know that the Seattle trip is coming up too.
Also, you got to be on your toes to keep me engaged. Otherwise, I'll just drift off.
Keep you engaged. Look, yes, exactly. I got to make sure that you're happy, entertained. I'm just warning you right now. If I'm a cranky, tired Mikey, just tell me. I already gave you a shit at the start here. But if it's too much, just let me know.
Truth is, really, what that is I know I'm supposed to be engaged in the podcast and listening. That only happens when I'm also cranky and tired and kind of out of it. No sleep, getting up early. The kids, one kid had school, the other one didn't. So it's like I still have to get up at 7 a.m. And then I come home and I know it's like, oh, I'm like not free. There's still a kid here I got to entertain and feed and do all this stuff too. So it's like the worst of both worlds in that circumstance. And then go right into the Nintendo Direct and then go into the show. So
it's a busy day.
Busy day. And it's like, it's not like I've been sleeping a lot otherwise. So I'm just trying to get on this new schedule on B Week, right? Exactly.
In fucking B Week. I see we already got super chats coming in. Thank you so much, everybody. We will read all the super chats during the show. We got some mailbag letters to get to too. But why don't we talk about this direct, this singular direct?
I think the best thing we can do for the show is get on with it. Let's talk about the stuff we have to talk about. Yeah, the direct that was 2-in-1.
I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the highlights here, Jeff, in no particular order. If there's something I'm not talking about that you want to bring up, feel free.
Sure.
I think you know that I was perhaps most stunned by this Capcom Fighting Collection 2 announced, which it's kind of like a few collections I was hoping we would get, just all in one.
All in one. Yep. Mm-hmm. Specifically, Capcom versus SNK, CVS and Power Stone. Like those are two that could have easily been their own collections. $50, $60 for CVS 1 and 2, $50 for Power Stone 1 and 2. I was also ready to pay that money as someone who's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So the fact that they're putting them all in one, it feels extremely generous.
Yeah, and we got those 4 games, but we're also getting Project Justice, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, and Plasma Sword. A lot of like Dreamcast or Dreamcast adjacent games specifically here.
Yeah, are we expecting that this is like all just a Dreamcast emulator for all of these games for the most part?
I don't know if that makes sense for all of them, and especially since that's not what they're doing for like Marvel vs. Capcom, right? It's usually they're emulating arcade versions. So they're emulating the Dreamcast version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Right.
So I don't know about that, but like for like, you know, Power Stone,
right.
There's no arcade version of Power Stone. So there's definitely something like that at play here. Same thing with, I'm not even sure if there was an arcade version of Plasma Sword. There might have been.
Right, that's kind of what it's like. Some of these like might not even have had arcade versions necessarily. So
I guess I only say that just because, you know, I know there's some people who, you know, it's a little weird. There's no Star Gladiator and no Rival Schools, which is, you know, the predecessors of two of the games on here. But maybe a PS1 kind of collection thing is still going to happen at some point. I don't know. But so that aside, though, just incredible that we're getting this many games. It's specifically Capcom vs. SNK 2, Power Stone 2, just like two heavy hitters in terms of games I wanted ports of in general to modern consoles. Just two of my favorite fighting games, two of my favorite games from that era. So this is super, super exciting. We're going to, of course, get all, you know, online play, museum features, the stuff that we've seen from these Capcom collections. And Capcom has just been doing a very good job of collecting things lately.
yes, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of part of their multi-pronged strategy of we have collections, we have remakes, like we have, you know, I guess we have remasters, we have big boy remakes, and then we have new games. And we are covering all our bases for all of these major franchises. And then, you know, some franchises aren't going to get new games, but we can still keep them fresh for the most part. And I think maybe a pessimistic way to look at this is they don't see CVS or Power Stone as things that should stand on their own, and maybe eventually get new entries. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. There's limited resources. They probably aren't going to be doing a new Power Stone anytime soon. But part of me wanted to believe that was possible. But that's like the most pessimistic take on this. Overall, it's like, yeah, this is a bunch of games that look incredible in a collection together. Like, honestly, it's like you compare it to other collections you get from other companies. Like, yeah, this just feels like an abundance of riches. And yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and hey, someone in the chat just said there was arcade version of Power Stone 1 and 2, which is kind of news to me.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Like like a lot of like Dreamcast games specifically. It's like I remember the arcade version of Crazy Taxi, and I know that wasn't necessarily everyone's experience, but I never saw a Power Stone arcade cabinet.
Yeah. Also, yeah, someone else reminded me about Techromancer. Yeah, where's Techromancer? That's a Capcom Dreamcast fighting game. But hey, I don't, there are still odds and ends. Like when I was seeing this, part of me was like, this is basically just everything left. And of course, there's still going to be some things left. But this is still a lot. And I am super happy to be getting it. The kind of weird thing about it is that I'm super excited to get this announcement. I'm almost surprised they did it already when the Marvel vs. Capcom collection hasn't even come out yet. It did get a release date. September 12th, I think. Incredibly exciting how soon that is. Well, it was kind of surprising how they announced this for 2025, so it's not coming out anytime super soon. But
do you want to like put on a tinfoil hat there a little bit?
Are you going to say that that's because this direct got pushed up from coming out after MVC collection was coming out? Because I thought that too.
Honestly, it's just occurring to me, but it's like when you put it like that, it's like this maybe was supposed to happen after that game was going to come out. So instead, it's like, well, now this feels a little bit weird. It would have felt less weird. It would have felt like, okay, they crushed it with that. Everyone who's going to buy that game pretty much bought that collection on September 12th, day one, ready to go. Now tell them, hey, there's a reason to stay excited about all these games. Enjoy playing them because in 2025, you're going to get another collection. And they moved. And also, like, if you're Capcom, you got to get this game sold right now on Switch right now because it could get drowned out slightly by the time Switch 2 stuff starts happening. So now everyone's excited about this, and maybe Switch 2 stuff does get announced next month. You know, I don't want to get people's hopes up. I have no idea, but that seems to be the way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, I was like happy you brought that up because that thought had occurred to me because it is just, I mean, it's not the weirdest thing in the world, but it's just a little weird to announce this before. We didn't even have a release date for Marvel vs. Capcom collection yet. But yeah. Anyways, very excited. Jeff, I am going to make you play so much Power Stone 2 online with me.
Yeah, that sounds good. The first time I ever played Power Stone 2 ever was with you at PAX. So that sounds like a great time to get back in there and redeem myself. So, because you crushed when we played at PAX.
I did kind of clean house then.
You cleaned house, yeah. Although I still had a really good time. That game was a lot of fun. I mentioned this on the talk over, but yeah, a lot of Itsuno games in here, and it's interesting. Like like, what is he? I mean, I know he's done Devil May Cry and he's done Dragon's Dogma. Has he done any fighting games in the last? And it's like, no, pretty much he hasn't done a fighting game since Capcom Fighting Evolution, where he was a consultant. Since that was 2004. So it's like for 20 years he's been Devil May Cry. He was a supervisor on Project X Zone, but otherwise it's been Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma back to back for like 2 decades now.
Wow.
So kind of remembering where he got his start, well, for the most part, like he started with some other games, but Street Fighter Alpha 1 was his real first one. But yeah, very cool. Shout outs out to Itsuno.
Hey, real quick, can I answer your question about that?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Looking at the website for this release, it looks like they are doing what they are doing for all the other Capcom fighting collections, and where applicable, it will be the arcade release. Like Mike just found out here, Power Stone does have arcade releases. I actually played 2 at EVO with the homie, our friend Stephanie from NetherRealm. That was cool. But some of these did not have arcade releases to my knowledge. Like the English version of Capcom Fighting Evolution will be the console port, it looks like. So yeah, there's a little bit of crossover there because this is between eras, but most of them will be arcade versions.
Is there any concern? Because like this was like the era where maybe occasionally the Dreamcast version would have been the preferable version. But is there any concern about that for Power Stone, or do you guys not necessarily know?
Power Stone, not as much, and it seems like they're just trying to be consistent. Because like for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the better version, or at least the version that people prefer, actually is the Dreamcast one. But they went with arcade for like consistency. And it seems like that's what they're doing here. So any like minor differences or bug fixes, anything like that, they'll just, go with the arcade version.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Stephanie, I think she even said something on Twitter about like, oh, I'm surprised, something about like, oh, it's a little bit of a bummer. It's that version of Capcom versus SNK 1 or something. And I'm not really like super proficient in what that version is and how it's different from other ones. I bet it's not something I would super notice. Thank you, by the way, to Jez Gordon, who's in chat for those gifted
5
memberships.
gifted subs. If you guys got a gifted sub, make sure you thank Jez. Shout out to you, bud.
Another win for the olds, Jeff. The Castlevania Dominus collection. You know what's funny about this? You know what I opened up literally last night in bed because I just like wanted to play something. Was the Castlevania Advanced Collection.
Yeah. It's so playable, right? Like I always like that's always bubbling up as like I could be playing that right now. So yeah, totally.
It's just funny. So like when I like got this today, literally it just popped up right next to like the icon for the Advanced Collection on my screen. It looked very nice. This is that DS collection of Castlevania Metroidvania games that Jeff and I have been clamoring for, including Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, in Order of Ecclesia. And just like how the last one had Dracula X as a bonus, this one has Haunted Castle, which is the arcade exclusive Castlevania game. But really neat here, it has the original, but it also just has this remake of it. Still a 2D game, but pretty spiffy,
revisited.
Actually.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to kind of the sort of thing you might occasionally get from not Digital Extreme.
The Rebirth stuff that we got on Wii.
Yeah, and like just Mike Micah over at the with Digital, I can never remember, Digital Eclipse. He'll occasionally, like when they're working on stuff, he'll like, hey, and I ported it myself to some stuff, and then I was doing that, I just did a upgraded version of all these old games, and he does that for like the Gold Master Series collections. So this is becoming more common among the better like preservation houses, and this is M2, one of the best in the business when it comes to emulating these old games. And I got this, Mike. I've been playing it. It's very good. They nailed it. It is those DS games with the gameplay on the left, and then you have the 2 DS screens, but the DS screens are kind of always set to like the menu stuff, so it's not like you're getting doubled up gameplay. So it's like they did a little bit of work to make it feel like something that was made to be played this way. And then the touchscreen stuff on the Steam Deck works fantastic. I'm just using that.
Yeah, I mean, you can even have 3 screens. Hey, no, it's kind of what I always said I hope that they would do since I played that the Mega Man Zero collection, which did have the 2 DS games. And those were kind of similar to that, and that the second screen was mostly just the map. And you just kind of tuck the map in the corner here, and you have a stat screen on the other corner. And like, that map a little smaller than I would like? Maybe, but that's a fine compromise. I did start this up to, I tried Haunted Castle Revisited just to see what that's like, and it's neat. But just playing a little bit of Dawn of Sorrow. And I know the touchscreen stuff was maybe a little contentious there because Dawn of Sorrow was an early DS game, so it was maybe trying a little too hard to incorporate that stuff. I always thought it was sort of cute,
Right.
and I'm glad it is still here. And on the Switch, it's just, there's still a touchscreen, and they kind of have alternate things. I think it seems like I even could just push buttons instead of actually tracing if I wanted to, for the glyphs at least.
What do you mean push button? Like press a button and it would automatically do the glyphs for you?
Yeah, it looked like it. Like I just went to do it, but like when the glyph showed up, it looked like there was a Y on like the points.
Interesting.
Where it's supposed to
Okay.
do it. Yeah, so it seems like I could have just pushed buttons there instead or something. But I just started swiping.
I'll say that it's when I was worried about these games like getting preserved, I was annoyed at all the touchscreen stuff, being like, oh, that's going to be the reason Konami never does this. Now that they've done it, it's like, oh, this is actually like cute. I'm glad that all this stuff is preserved and works the way it did in the early DS days. And they've done the work now. It does work on a singular screen. If you don't have a touch screen, they have the input of hold down, RB and use the right stick to move something around. And that works fine enough. I mean, there's probably some sequences where that's going to be a little bit frustrating, but you can like adjust the speed of the cursor and all these things. They kind of thought of everything. So now this game is just going to work in perpetuity on a single screen device. And I'm very excited about that because it's like, okay, great. Those Castlevania games are now set for the future.
And there's, different screen layouts. You even can just do the one that is just like a DS, like the two screens stacked on top of each other. And maybe that's exciting for like certain, specialized hardware in the future, right?
Yeah, I wonder if do they have like a Tate mode? Is that how you say that?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly.
Because I have the vertical holster that Jeremy Parrish made.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe I can get it for the Switch and try playing it that way and have
That'd be amazing.
With the dual screens. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. By the way, Dawn of Sorrow, I feel like that one always not gets a bad rap, but it kind of gets glossed over. And just playing, I'm like, oh, this game is fun. It looks
great.
So good. I mean, it always gets picked on, one, for the touchscreen things, and two, they did have the very unfortunate art style change from like that gorgeous art that we had basically since Symphony of the Night that looks amazing to just generic flat anime stuff.
Yep,
and it is a bummer.
That stuff
but
sucks. Yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't like somehow make it a bad game. Like,
and it's like most of the
so smooth.
Yeah, most of the things you see in the game are going to be the pixel characters interacting with one another, and that just is very stylish and cool. So, yeah, very good.
Yep, I'm just gonna be. I mean, this is what I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna be playing through all of these. Very, very, very excited. And these three, like, even more so than the GBA ones, I think they each kind of have a bit of their own flavor, which is really exciting.
They were doing these. I mean, as far as I remember, back when I was like, okay, another year, another Castlevania Metroidvania game. They were coming out like one a year there for a while. So by the time they were on the 4th, 5th, and 6th year, they were like, okay, we got to like try some new stuff. And that was for the Dawn of Sorrow. I was like, well, we'll do the DS stuff, and that'll be the gimmick here. Order of Ecclesia really changes up the whole formula to the point where it's like almost a level system, a level system and stages instead of a map that you're exploring. And it was like, as much as I, of course, prefer just a Metroidvania castle map to explore, by the time Order of Ecclesia came around, I'm like, you know what? Let's do something a little different. It feels maybe a little bit more similar to previous Castlevania games. That was exciting in its own way. And that game also just owns bones. So across the board, great games.
And then, like, spoiler, but like at the very end of, you do have the big castle. And maybe it's not like the biggest castle, but It does open up.
It does. Yes, exactly.
Really cool.
They do the thing you want them to do. Right.
Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the first, is getting a full-blown remake. This was what? This is like this shocked me because it just was kind of thrown into a montage here. It had a larger segment in the Japanese one. They keep making these Trails games. I only played Trails in the Sky 1 and 2, but absolutely love them. The only reason I'm kind of don't keep going into it further is because I'm intimidated by how many there are to play now.
There's a lot. Yep.
There's I'm like 7 games behind, but Trails in the Sky 1 and 2 just itself is this very self-contained, amazing experience, and this looks very, very pretty. It seems like the combat system is I don't know if it's intact, but when I first saw the small trailer, I'm like, oh, is it just some simplified action thing? And then you see the full thing, like, no, there's a lot of mechanics going on here still. This was a very pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, when I was seeing this, I was kind of wondering to myself, is this going to be the thing that they are thinking is going to make or take Trails of the Sky to the next level and have people be like, okay, now this is a big important RPG up there with these other ones? Because I think the reason there are so many games people love these games, but it's not a massive audience. So they're like, let's make another one for that audience. Let's keep budgets tight, and we'll just keep, kind of going back home and cashing those checks from that same audience over and over again. And now they're like, okay, well, if we go back to and start from the beginning and start remaking these things and put a little bit more budget in there, maybe we can reach a more mainstream audience. And I don't know. I hope so. Probably a lot more people will be like, hey, this feels like a fresh start, and I've always heard about these games. Maybe now is the time to get on board. At least that's kind of the sentiment I'm seeing from people online.
I would kind of hope and expect it's like the best-selling one, because it's a remake of basically the first one, and it's a super beloved game. So you imagine pretty much everyone who cares about this game very loudly is going to. And then this is the one that's very easy for them to tell all of their friends or anybody who has had FOMO, like, oh, this is the place to jump in. So yeah, I hope that, I think there will be a good chance that this does very well, at least, compared to what the series can do. Because again, maybe I'll make you play it. I'll yell about it a lot, and you'll have a great time going adventuring with Estelle and Joshua. It's going to be fantastic.
I mean, I'd be willing to try it out for sure.
The one last thing on the end of it, again, we're going on not chronologically here, is Yakuza Kiwami coming to Switch this October. We haven't really had a whole lot of Yakuza games on Nintendo before. This is, of course, that sort of remaster / remake of the first one. This is one I've always wanted to play. People talk about this one being very good. I wonder if I really should play it on the Switch or not. But nice to see this.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't played Yakuza 0, right?
Right, that's the one even more so than this. That seems like that should be the first one to play.
That's the one if you're trying to get in the whole series. I think that's the best onboarding one. And then if you're willing to, just obviously. The most recent one, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, is a fantastic one to just jump on as well, even though it's building on so much history. They do a good job of capturing all that and making it easier to understand. But people love all these games, and it does feel like this franchise is at a point where it feels like it should be everywhere. And from that point of view, it's like this did feel somewhat inevitable that if it was going to keep growing, it would have to be on Switch, or Switch 2 is kind of what I was thinking. So the fact that they have this kind of the end of the Switch, this one that can almost probably run decently well on a Switch, that's exciting. I think people will check this out. And there probably are a lot of Switch owners who have maybe glanced over at that and thought, hey, maybe this is something I'll get one day, but I don't know if I'm going to get it on a different system. I just like playing on my Switch. Well, now here it is, and there they go. So I hope this works out well for everybody.
And also exciting here is a Digital Eclipse announced Tetris Forever. This is going to be a compilation of 15 classic Tetris games, including the NES version and some kind of funny things like Super Bombless DX and Hatris Super Tetris 2. It's going to have a new multiplayer mode. And it's going to have some of that museum documentary stuff that Digital Eclipse has been doing as well.
It seems like that's a huge part of it. This is it's weird because there were a handful of games there that they marketed as here's the history, the story of this, the history of that. And this one's just Tetris Forever. It's a collection of Tetris games. And then also there's this documentary in there. So they're putting Tetris forward first, which is probably the right decision. And I hope that, again, as I said, every time one of those games comes up, that they are able to continue doing this because the work they're doing is fantastic. Cool stuff in here. Obviously, having NES Tetris, which they're also putting on Nintendo Switch Online, but having that in a collection, very cool. And then the mode where you can play 4 players and it's shifting between different versions of Tetris, that seems really neat. I'm down for that.
Yeah, that looks super fun.
Tetris Battle Gaiden. That's one I know was popular with the Giant Bomb at one point. I never really watched when they played that. So that's one I'm most curious to actually play for myself.
Okay, cool. Balattro's getting some new collaboration decks with The Witcher, Vampire Survivors, Among Us, and there was a fourth one.
Dave the Diver.
Dave the Diver.
That's right.
I can never get Dave the Diver. Hey, that's neat.
Yeah, sure. All just cosmetic skins for the decks, but very cool. This is what happens with indie games. They get popular, and then they all work together with one another, and then also Dave the Diver shows up. So, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, exactly. I am looking forward to that. Hey, the Patrick Star game, SpongeBob SquarePants, a little open world Patrick Star thingamajig. What do you think about that?
I think it looks like a licensed game where it's like, yeah, who knows? This probably be mediocre, and I'm kind of interested to play it. Whenever I'm doing crimes and I'm like getting my all my games to put on one of my handhelds, and I'm like, well, let me pick my favorite games. I almost always also add like 10 or 15 licensed games I've never played before. Because I'm like, I'm curious about this. At the time, I never would have considered it because I didn't want to waste one of my 2 games a year on one of those. And even like renting games, that always kind of sometimes felt like a waste. I'm glad that they are still doing games like this. There was that time there, that kind of dark period for licensed games, Mike, where we're like, oh, they're just going to go to mobile, right? They're just going to go to mobile, and we're not going to ever get them anymore. This is like, oh no, return to form. And as a 3D platformer, I'm like, hey, maybe there's going to be some charm here. It's probably not going to be great. Probably not going to be as good as a Bikini Bottom, which people like. There's other 3D SpongeBob platformers no one really talks about. They just talk about Bikini Bottom. This is probably not going to be up there with Bikini Bottom. Might be there at the top of the rest of the crop, though. So, hey, cool.
Sea of Stars is getting DLC, Throes of the Watchmaker, so that's pretty neat to see. Looks like there's a new character there. It's kind of a separate story campaign. So that'll be a good excuse to go back to that very good RPG.
Real quick, just to go to Patrick real quick. So Nick TG in chat says it's a physics sandbox thing, which that sounds awesome, actually.
Like Breath of the Wild?
I think it's probably more like Gary's mod for kids is maybe what I'm imagining.
Wow.
Which is a great idea because kids just want to play around. They just want to mess around with stuff. And God, if I can hand this off to my kids and they could just mess around for hours at a time in a playground setting with Patrick Star, they'll go wild for that. So very cool.
Hey, Suikoden 1 and 2, the HD remaster collection, that came back. That has a March 6th release date now.
Last time we heard about that was like 2023, late 2023 or something.
It was long enough that people were concerned.
Right.
Like if it was still happening. So here it is. These are both great games, but Suikoden 2 especially gets shouted out a lot as being one of the best in the genre, a sentiment that I fully agree with. So very nice to see these came back.
Yep. This is actually one of the RPG franchises I want to try because people like Suikoden 2 specifically so much. Like, oh, I'll be willing to give that a shot. I probably won't beat it or anything, but I wouldn't mind just experiencing what some people like about it.
So some of the big stuff, Metal Slug Tactics came back. Goat Simulator 3 released on Switch. There are some interesting looking indie games like More Souls. There's that Peglin that is Peggle with some RPG stuff that I want to play. I don't know if there's anything from the indie side specifically that stood out for you. It was kind of a lot of games there getting thrown at us once. I don't blame you if you can't single out something right now in your mind.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it right. The Power Wash Sim Shrek DLC.
How could I forget?
Yeah, right. That was interesting to see, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a fun kind of thing. So yeah, that stood out the most. There's a handful of other stuff, but that's the one I'm like, oh yeah, I would probably actually try that out because that's Shrek's silly, and I still like Power Wash Simulator a lot.
So what do you think? I think that I liked having these two kind of brands of Nintendo Direct bundled like this. I thought that made a lot of sense and made for kind of one big good show. Yeah, it kind of they complemented one another. It all felt like it built toward a conclusion that was, not like some amazing one last thing, but it's like, oh yeah, we're starting with some of these fun indies. A lot of them do look like fun indies, stuff that's going to be worth our time. And then, we get into the Nintendo Direct and it's like, oh, these are a little bit bigger, a little bit more going to be eye-grabbing, things like that. And I thought the presentations worked very well. And for a late stage Nintendo Switch Direct / Indie World where expectations are very limited and maybe, best case scenario, we do find out about Switch 2 in a matter of weeks, which who knows, again, maybe that's not happening. Wild. Exactly. It's wild. And it's like, oh, well, this feels like a nice little cherry on top of the Switch's life. And I'm excited about some of these games. Now, of course, I would have loved to see first party Nintendo stuff in a real Direct, but knowing that we weren't going to really get any of that stuff, very happy with these shows. And I would, hey, if they did, once a year they had a smaller Direct paired up with the Indie World, I would love that. I would welcome it. Right, and we still have we still kind of have an idea of what's coming to the Switch one for the rest of the year, so I don't know if I'm expecting like a big direct about software till maybe we get on the other side of at least Zelda and Brothership and Mario Party. I mean, right?
And personally, I preferred this over one of the rumors we were hearing is there would be a direct dedicated to one topic, and people are like, oh, so they'll do a Brothership direct. And as much as I'm looking forward to Brothership, I just want to play it. I actually don't need a direct about telling me about that game. Let's just get our hands on it and see if it's going to live up to the legacy of that game, of that franchise. Seems like that one subject direct was actually the museum direct. So then having this and kind of following up with, hey, no, here's a bunch of games, stuff you can care about on your Switch. Here is a shadow drop of Castlevania Dominus collection. That's going to pop me every time. I'm just going to be like in such a good mood coming out of that show that the rest of the stuff is going to live on the afterglow there a little bit.
Right. You know, like I enjoyed the direct, and it's always kind of hard because, I had two things. The Dominus collection and the Capcom Fighting Collection 2 just super targeted at me. And, the one, like, I wasn't expecting at all. And the other one, the fact that it's out today and I, like, am already playing it. And, like, I can't oversay how much I was in the mood specifically to play those DS Castlevania games.
For real.
Like, that's why I started up Castlevania Advance yesterday. It's like, I really want to play the DS ones, but I can't. So I'll do the little Julius mode and Aria of Sorrow instead, I guess. But no, now I can just do the thing that I wanted to. Everything's coming up, Mikey.
Yep. It's really good stuff. So, yep, very happy with it. And looking forward to some of those bigger Switch games coming out and just continuing to play my Switch, a system that, all things considered, has been sort of in my active gaming rotation just about as long as any console's ever been. There's definitely going to be some outliers there where early days of the NES, it was like I was not going to get a Super Nintendo in the first couple of years. So I was playing that thing for forever, and the Xbox 360 I had for a very long time and was playing that for a while, but yeah, this is like, oh man, the Switch is still maybe my top thing to be playing video games on after, almost 8 years.
Thank you to Allie Miracle for the gifted membership earlier, by the way. And Jeff, we have a bunch of super chats here. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and we'll read these super chats.
Sounds good. And I'm not going to hit this button that says end stream, which for some reason I was about to hit.
Break. Thank you for not hitting that button.
Yeah, no problem. I just hit the ad break button instead. There we go.
Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, I'm on top of things today. Oh boy, I'm going to go to sleep tonight early, and I'm going to try to fall asleep at a good time.
A lot of cords going into slots.
It's good every time.
It's really good every time.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't fail. It don't fail.
Yabba dabba do.
Okay. Don't say that.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm not allowed to say yabba dabba do. What is that racist against cavemen?
No,
this is a pro.
Nickel Mike, and then he won't stop fucking talking about the Flintstones.
Oh, okay.
That's a pro Flintstones podcast. And I definitely am not just saying that because we got a classic cartoons channel on TV, so I kind of just put that in the background while I'm working.
There you go.
You ready?
Yeah.
I was born ready.
Let's do it. And we're back. Jeff, are you ready with the super chats?
I am. I got the super chat train coming into the station right now, starting with Allie Miracle. This is true love we're making. I don't know, how's it go? Do the thing, Mike.
This is true love making. This is a true love making. Yeah. Oh, what a banger. Again, like I would have just paid full price pretty much for only Capcom versus SNK 2 with like an online mode and some like minimal bells and whistles. Just that game alone. Hell, I very recently bought the original Xbox version of that game, I think for probably about $50. Yes, I do, in fact, do that.
You've already actually done it, and you were ready to do it again.
Yeah.
Very good. Postman Dan says, this week, have some honey packets with your beef and cheddar treats. We're buzzing with excitement for Bee Week. Protect the hive. The goddamn
These
right.
It's just wild that we were in Brentford, Dan and I, when we were in London.
Yes, that was incredible.
A bee-themed town. So
that was a lot of fun.
Very good.
Yep, very cool. Ross Adams says, you all do these after my bedtime, so getting in early. Mike, did you play the Beyond Good and Evil 2 mission in the remaster? Not heard anyone talk about it.
I don't know if there's a mission. What is in there is there's kind of like these extra hidden collectibles, and each one of them is sort of a digital disc about one of those crew member characters that are in Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I only came
Beyond Good and Evil
across...
2 is going to be a prequel, right? So
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of like, oh, these people were like, you know, with Jay when she was a child. And like the one you know, they're all pirates or whatever. And like I found the one for that monkey character who was pretty prominent in those CG trailers, right? But I understand that there are more of them. I know there's like a whole mission related to it. I just kind of found that one collectible. It's wild that it is in there. It's like, okay, I guess they are still serious about all this.
Yeah, I like it when companies do that. That's something that happened with Astro recently. Astro's Playroom's got a lot of references to Astrobot coming out, and the kids have been finding that stuff whenever they go back to play that. And I'm always like, what? I don't remember this. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. They added new stuff into that game to reference the upcoming game, which, God, it's going to be here soon. All right, let's see here. L. Grug. Did Mike tell people in England to speak English? Of course he did. Because their English sounds different than Ohio English. The real Queen's English, Ohio English.
I want to be clear that I think I was perhaps the most polite and culturally sensitive person in the group, except for this one time I just misunderstood what was happening. I was just oblivious to what was happening, you know.
Yeah, I did it. Knowing you, I know you don't want to be in that situation. That would terrify you. So
yes,
it would
I'd be
me
so
too.
Scared.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just that makes it all the funnier though, because of course that's not what you meant. Then having Jan and Bailey immediately freak out and leave.
They just left.
and you not realizing until they got out there to talk to them. Just a great story. Good stuff.
That's what scares me more than anything is the idea that I was oblivious that it was even perceived that way. Because I was still just like, we're going to get a drink eventually. It might take a while, but that's okay. La, la. And they're like gone. I was like, oh, I guess we're not drinking here.
Incredible. All right. Question mark 1910. I don't support Mike's racist heel turn. English.
Neither do I.
Kitty Cat Man 93. Binglish. Hashtag B Week.
Binglish.
That's pretty good.
Do you speak it?
Buzz. Screaming Madden. Just beat Mike's favorite game ever. Mega Man 3 on Monday. Yep, it's a banger classic with the best Wily's Castle in the series. Though F Snake Man.
F Snake, that's my favorite robot master. Snake, what's wrong with Snake Man? Kind of has a hard level. I like fighting Snake Man though.
Maybe he's it's in a pleasurable way. Though F Snake Man.
Oh, you think he wants relations with Snake Man?
He wants to know him carnally. Yes.
Wants to ride the Snake Man.
He wants to ride the snake.
Gotcha.
Jacob Bench says, let's get hyped for Trails in the Sky remake. Easily the best JRPG franchise.
I mean, modern. I can understand people thinking that because it's traditional in ways that doesn't feel like it's being deliberately old school or retro, and they keep making them, right? Yep. It's like, oh, I like this, and I keep getting new ones, and it's not necessarily a wait every 9 years for one, like with a Final Fantasy, a Persona, or a Dragon Quest. So if you are a JRPG fan, this is kind of your thing. This is kind of the best thing you probably have going.
Jez C says, keep slaying, kings. Thank you so much, Jez Corden. Shout out to you,
Jez.
Let's see here. Ali Miracle gifted one. Oh, we talked about this. Gifted 1 sub. Jez gifted 5 subs. Uriel Delgado says Tatsunoko versus Capcom. It has the Gotcha Man in it. Eyes emoji.
Yeah, and here we go. Here, they're speaking of games I just bought recently. So
you did get it.
I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm shocked that they didn't announce it in a collection since I just bought it recently.
Right.
Yeah, there's it's funny because we have suddenly gotten a ton of games in these collections, but there are still some out there, and hopefully all the stragglers get collected too someday.
They might. They probably Tatsunoko is probably the
for sure.
Like that.
Sure.
I mean, not even necessarily like they're being like playing hardball or something, but it's like it just takes work to get that done. So like actually going and talking to Tatsunoko and then having someone there being receptive to it is probably a little challenging.
It would be pretty incredible to me if like Tatsunoko wouldn't be willing to play ball like Marvel is right now. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think everyone wants to be on the Capcom train. Maddie 5291 says, hey, Nintendogs, love your content and find it very helpful. Can I get a trans rights from the dogs? Keep up the great work and enjoy your evening.
Dogs. Penny, can you say trans rights? Oh, wait, Penny's just a dog, but I'll say it. Trans rights are human rights.
Yeah, trans rights. There you go. Put it right at the camera. Trans rights. Darachi says, I own the whole Yakuza series twice already on both PlayStation and Xbox, and I'm 100% going to buy the whole series again on Switch. Yep, people are freaks for these games. So, I think this is a good move, and I think it'll pay off for everybody involved. Dazin31 says, Yo, dogs! Probability of Nintendo having moved these presentations to prepare for Switch 2 reveal in September. Mike, put a number on it.
Oh, gosh. 40%.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Like, it's in the realm of possibility. A 1 out of 3 chance sounds about like, yeah, there's a 1 out of 3 chance we hear about the Switch 2 in September. Especially because Tokyo Game Show is coming up, and it feels like, it feels like that won't be the only new hardware we hear about, because we'll probably hear about the PS5 Pro and Nintendo being like, yeah, well, this is the time to do it, and then that way we can have open conversations at Tokyo Game Show. That feels like it makes a lot of sense. Doesn't mean it will happen for sure, but and also like the idea of like them moving things around because they weren't sure exactly what they were going to do it, and then they decided they're going to do it in September. That doesn't feel exactly right to me, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, like I said. Mike, that does it for the super chats.
Why don't we start digging into the mailbag?
Real quick, question mark.
Right
that was their 10th super chat. Shout outs to you, question mark. And Ross Adamson in their first super chat. So shout outs to you all. Oh, and Mad Maddie as well.
Appreciate that. All right, Jeff, here's the mailman. Do your thing.
Get your ass over here. All
right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good boy. All right. Bench JC asks, will you be playing the Trails in the Sky remake next year? Oh, yeah. I really liked that game. I think like as a duology, it's very good. There is a third one, but that's kind of more of a Coda thing. But like 1 and 2 specifically are very good games. In this remake, it looks really spiffy. Like it looks nice. Even like the first Trails in the Sky, which I love that game. It's not the prettiest game in the world. I even remember thinking things like the character like dialogue art wasn't amazing. So I kind of welcome an overhaul in some ways.
Yeah, I will. I'll check this out. I've always been curious. Part of me is like, maybe I should just go shoot Trails in the Sky. Just because it's right there. It's on Steam, right? I could just get on the Steam
Deck.
Deck.
Always on sale. Well,
yeah.
Not that mentioning it, but yeah, exactly. Dregs Benedict, that's funny. Dear Nintendogs, what grouping of Nintendo games deserves to get the Capcom bundle treatment? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'll answer your question, but I am constantly thinking, man, I wish Sega would do more collections like this. I'm glad that we are getting...
The collections they've done have been awesome. M2, I think, did them. They usually work with Sega, so yeah, that's why they were so good.
Right, but there's so many, like, especially like Saturn and Dreamcast games that I would love for Sega to start collecting. I mean, Capcom's now collecting its Dreamcast games, right?
Yep.
So that's cool. But Nintendo specifically, it's kind of hard because Nintendo doesn't love collecting nearly as much as it loves just remastering and re-releasing single games. They do collect sometimes. Even when they do, it's kind of weird, like, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these games are available as like arcade archive classics on Switch, but early arcade games, I would like an early arcade, like especially if it had like the Gold Master treatment with the documentary stuff and all the documentation, that would be fantastic. But if it's just a collection of games similar to what Capcom does, I would like just like all Nintendo's like 1980, late 1970s and throughout the 1980s arcade games. That would be very cool to see.
Jess Buckaroo says, howdy fellas, in light of the announcement of Date Anything, which household object do you find most romantically / sexually appealing?
Well, we know what it is for you. It's the power outlets, those slots, right? Cords in the slots.
Oh, yeah, the cords and slots. Yeah, you're right.
Going into
power.
slots.
All right, got it. Yep, that's right. How about you, though, Jeff?
I don't know. Something about patio furniture, just out there in the sun.
Sure.
Just literally hot. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Tyler James Bay says, not a question, just wanted to say I can't wait to play Date Everything so I can live out my JD Vance fantasy and fuck the couch. Thank you, Tyler. The Uncharted Wolf says, hey, dogs, Castlevania Dominus collection, let's freaking go. This has to pave the way towards a new Castlevania game, right? What would you guys want from a new Castlevania game setting and gameplay-wise? I don't know if it has to. Like, I think there's a new Castlevania game coming for sure. I don't know like, I don't think this is some sign that, oh, it's gonna play like those, those Igavania style games that I specifically love so much. There will be a Castlevania game of some kind. In terms of what I would want from a new Castlevania game, setting, gameplay wise, like, again, I would like for one to just basically kind of play like one of these again. And setting, you can do sort of whatever you want. I do think it's fun when they don't, having just the entirely castle set ones are good. But even like Dawn of Sorrow, you're like in like this kind of like snowy base area, or it was a Portrait of Ruin is a sequel to Bloodline, so it's got a little bit of that kind of early 20th century vibe to it too. I think that can be fun. I think it'd be neat if they did something interesting like that.
Yep, I think it would be interesting if they did a new 3D game and kind of tried to make something that is a Souls-like a little bit, because Castlevania was clearly an inspiration for the Souls games. I think Castlevania could kind of do its own thing in that space, really focus on the whip gameplay and make that fun in 3D. I think that would own. But yeah, the underlying question, we've heard a Castlevania game is one of the other things that's in the works, besides the Metal Gear stuff and the Silent Hill stuff. And then the third thing is Castlevania. That's the one they haven't confirmed yet. I hope that happens soon. That'd be great.
Octo says, do you think Konami finally got clued in and said to their developers, we want Capcom quality, what do you need? The DS Castlevania collection seems like a bit of a step up from the GBA one. Try double tapping on an analog stick. They delayed the Suikoden collection a lot. Silent Hill things are happening. Is Konami going to be a video game company again? A real one? I mean, I'll say that people seem, including Dan, seem to really like that Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. People seem to have been kind of turned around on that Silent Hill 2 remake as well. So the sentiment for Konami at the moment seems higher than it has been in quite a long time, at least.
Yeah, people, whenever we talk about this, people always get kind of pedantic and point out Konami was making more money than ever with their mobile stuff, but and whatever else they're doing, and not just the pachinko machines. Separate from that, the video game side was making a ton of money still. But there hasn't been a lot of growth there. And then they put out the Metal Gear Solid collection, and they saw massive, immediate growth in that space. So I think they're like, oh, this is already paying off, and we just did one project that people have been asking for. Clearly, we think there's a lot more money to be made here. And they're on the path to have similar growth to what Capcom's having. So, yeah, I think that's exactly what happened here.
And now, Miracle says, given today with Capcom winning our heartbacks in every way, what other company could follow suit to be as powerful as it was in the 90s and 2000s? Hard mode. You can't say Konami.
Data East.
I mean, Namco, I think, is kind of, Namco's obviously doing very well. But
you just talk about Ridge Racer. We know.
Well, Ridge Racer, I'd love if we got a Soul Calibur collection, kind of like what we've been getting with these Capcom fighting game collections, and that would be a ton of fun.
Yep, that'd be cool. Yep, it's hard to say beyond that. Hudson, I don't know. A lot of these companies are very different than what they were like in the 90s. I don't know if Konami somehow maintained a position where it's like if they decided to come back, they could come back. The rest of them are not necessarily in that space.
Why don't we take a quick break here? We'll come back. We'll read the rest of these.
Sounds good.
Break.
All right, let's just get back to it.
All right.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, we are back. Next one here is from Villain Mac. Is it possible to have a conversation about Direct/Showcase without bringing up Silksong? Can we replace it with another game like Half-Life 3 or the full release of Hades 2? No, it's not possible, but I think it's also... at least I hope most people are at a point now where it's like, oh, Silksong didn't show up. My day's ruined. It can't be a big surprise anymore at this point. We shouldn't let it, sort of loom over every future video game showcase like the sword of Damocles. We can all make our jokes and maybe hope a little bit, but let's not get seriously upset about the Silksong situation.
Yeah, it feels like the thing where no news isn't necessarily bad news, because they've not said, and this game is not coming out anytime soon. It feels like when it's going to release, they're going to announce it, and then it's going to reintroduce it, and it's going to follow soon, very soon after. Maybe not a shadow drop, but I think a matter of weeks after they bring it back, that's a possibility. So, and that could still happen even this calendar year. So I don't think people should give up the hope yet.
Still Game Awards.
Yep.
Right. Screaming Mad says, "Hey dogs, what was the most exciting retro game announcement from all these collections announced at the partner showcase? Project Justice and the Power Stones were hype, but I might give it to one of the Brad Shoemaker's favorite games, Tetris Battle Gaiden, being localized in Tetris Forever." I mean, all of that stuff's exciting, but Power Stone 2, Capcom versus SNK 2, and all these DS Castlevania games, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, just obviously the things we've talked about a lot. It was a good showcase for like, oh man, there are a lot of old games that should be collected, and there was a ton of that. So I always enjoy seeing that.
Tashi says, "I never thought I would see an official Battle Tetris Gaiden release in the West. What Japanese title do you still hope gets an official U.S. Europe release?" I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but what we call Earthbound is called Mother over in Japan.
Well, are you sure? That doesn't sound right. Are you sure?
And Earthbound is actually Mother 2 in Japan. It's the second game in the series. And over there, they actually had a third Mother game that only came out for the Game Boy Advance, and apparently it's very good.
They wouldn't do that. I mean, they love making money. They would just put the game out and make money.
Right. And in fact, I remember in Super Smash Brothers, there was like that other Ness, Lucas, who had like blonde hair. That wasn't an OC. That's the character from Mother 3, apparently.
Oh, weird. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. I figured that was like the main character of Smash Brothers. Weird.
No.
Give me Captain Rainbow, the Wii game that makes a lot of weird references to Nintendo's history. That's got a really good fan translation. And if you play it on Dolphin on PC, it works really good with mouse and keyboard. But I think that would be a really excellent one to see ported to the West.
Yeah, we've been going through a lot of them because like some big ones for me used to be a lot of these Ace Attorney games that didn't get localized yet, and they all have been, or just about. That last Miles Edgeworth game coming here very soon.
Dan says his name is Joey. Do you think he's talking about the Lucas character you just said whose name was Lucas?
It's Joey. What is Joey? What is Joey?
Honestly, it might be so hot in his house, his brain could be boiling.
Yeah, it's like really dark and hard. He's hallucinating things. It's a problem.
Yeah, so that's correct. Okay.
That's correct. Next one here is from Bubs EG, who says, "A few weeks ago, Digital Eclipse said they want to work with Nintendo one day, and it got me dreaming. So picture this, a Nintendo Virtual Boy collection. That'd be great, but boy, it's like they sure did miss a trick just not doing that when they had a 3D console."
Yeah, for real. Having that stuff, like having the Virtual Boy emulator on the Oculus and stuff, has been like, oh yeah, this just works as 3D because it's just two different images that they can pair together for a 3D effect. I feel like they'll do it eventually. It would have to be paired. It can't be like the new big thing for Nintendo Switch Online, but paired with a bunch of other stuff, maybe that makes sense.
Willow Davis says, "Jeff, I know you're a big fan of Peggle. Today's Indie World Showcase showed a new game, Peglin. Do you think something like this could become your new favorite form of the pegging genre?"
Well, listen, I have my favorite thing when it comes to pegging, and it's not Peglin, of course. Peglin has been out on Steam Deck and Steam and Switch, or not Switch. And I did play some of it, but it's good. It's not exactly. I think I preferred Round Guard, which is another similar RPG with Peggle mechanics. But Peglin's fine, pretty good.
Jedi Moss says, "The back-to-back direct today has a feeling of Nintendo clearing the deck for the inevitable Switch 2 announcement. In my opinion, a September, October announcement is possible. Do you think they'll announce it before the end of the year?" I mean, yeah, and I know they said before the end of their financial year, but I think it'll be announced before the end of calendar year 2024.
Yeah, when you start if we start talking it out, it feels like if it's not before Tokyo Game Show, it's kind of weird at this point a little bit, because then you do get into like, now we are in October and your big games are coming out. You have Mario Party Jamboree and you have Brothership, and why distract from those when you could just get this out of the way before Tokyo Game Show if the plan is to announce it this year? Obviously, if it's not before Tokyo Game Show, part of me thinks it's not until like January. So we'll see.
Next one is from Weezman. It says, "Buzz to my B-boys. Mike, what's the best thing you ate in Europe?" Jeff, congratulations on #GetTheSquidward. There's quite a bit of good food in Cologne. There was this nice beer hall we went to. I had something that was called a pork knuckle, which is kind of like pork shank of the forearm. So it was very tender, and like it was kind of like fried crispy skin. So like it was kind of almost like a little porkland crust to it, and it had this this kind of braised cabbage situation and potatoes. It was very, very, very tasty. And then in London, our Airbnb was right by this delightful pub called The Globe that had probably the best fish and chips I ever had over there. And they also just happened to have like cheesy garlic bread as well. And that's just cheating. It's kind of unfair that you could spend like 5 days slow cooking something and making a reduction sauce and all this stuff, and it'll taste pretty good, but you could also just put some fucking cheese on bread, and boy, is that amazing.
It's the Metroidvania foods, just cheating.
It's just cheating. I think about that quote every time I play Metroidvania, because I was playing Dawn of
honestly,
Sorrow.
me too at this point.
I'm just like,
Yep.
I'm already having more fun than I do with like 95% of video
Yep,
games.
exactly. Instantaneously, because it's like I'm just working towards a goal at all times. It feels good. Yep.
It just feels like what it should be.
Yep, feels like games should be. Squidward has been very a big hit. She's very happy with Squidward, and now it has moved on to get me Mr. Krabs for Christmas. And whenever she brings that up, she always shows me that she has money for him, because Mr. Krabs' whole thing is he loves money. And she's like, "Look at I have a dollar bill and several coins, so Mr. Krabs will be happy." I'm like, "You're right, you got it. All right, fair enough."
You should impress upon her that's not enough money.
Yes, exactly. He's not going to be happy with this. This is pitiful. You should get a job. Yeah.
Always Beat Clothing says, "Hey doggos, how do y'all deal with jet lag after constant travel? Gamescom, PAX West, Summer Game Fest Game of the Year is a lot of time zone changes." Thank you. You kind of don't. You just kind of have to do your best. Go to sleep when you
just
can.
don't deal with it. Yes.
Yeah. The one thing, like, there was, especially like when I wasn't feeling well the one day, I just had to be like, okay, I know everyone's going out and everything, and like FOMO is a problem, but it's like, no, I'm just going to go to bed very early tonight. And sometimes you have to make those big boy, big girl, big person decisions.
Yep, that's right. I kind of just don't. You got to just push through it. And, if that means occasionally crashing and burning and going to sleep very early, or after you do get done traveling, having that Saturday where it's like, oh my God, I have nothing to do, I might just sleep all day. Like, that occasionally does happen.
The plucky Riz Racer says, "Hey, Jeff and English Mike, which of these Nintendo characters do you think would most likely be to partake in a Colorado night? Wario, Luigi, or Captain Toad?" Luigi would be so nervous to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Wario also would just be like, I only do cocaine. So I think it's Captain Toad.
Yeah, that's okay. You nailed it. You nailed that one.
I think that's right.
Input name here says, "Mike, how do I get past the second stage of the original Outrun? Am I supposed to downshift during the turns? I give it a try with every Like a Dragon game and always leave mad."
Guys, but I don't know if you need to downshift in the turns.
I don't think you downshift. I think you maybe ease off the accelerator. It's been a bit. I played a lot more of like Outrun 2 recently than the original Outrun.
I played a ton of Outrun, the 3DS version, and I definitely got through like all the content at least a couple of times. And I feel like it's just like, make sure that you are shifting up like when you are topped out at speed on the lower gear, and then just be careful on the turns. Yeah, I think letting off the accelerator is probably right. I don't know, I kind of want to play it again now and see for myself.
Yeah, right. Low Rule says, at this point, if you had to guess, is Metal Gear Solid Delta releasing this year?
Just having those. I guess let's see if the state of play does happen in September, and if they announce a date there. I guess it's possible. It feels like probably not. That feels like maybe an early 2025 thing.
It's kind of difficult to say. How are you feeling about that? The previews were positive, and I'm excited. There's like a part of me that is a little surprised how one-to-one a remake it is. I guess still having all those loading zones, it won't really be a problem. I think the only time that might weird me out a little bit is during that boss fight with the end, where again the whole point is that you're like, in this big sniper duel in this one big region, and having that kind of split up with loading zones was strange.
Yeah,
but what are you thinking?
I think it is the kind. I'm not surprised that that's what's happening here, because I think the team they went to, Virtuous, like, this is what you're going to get from them. So I'm not surprised this is what we ended up with, and it doesn't bother me all that much. I know that some people are like, that's a boring style of remake. And clearly it's not like as exciting as when we get like a Resident Evil remake, and it's like they do all this editing and improvements and just kind of make it feel like a new game in a lot of ways. And that's fantastic. But I am happy because I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3 before, and so hearing that this is going to feel like playing Metal Gear Solid 3, and I don't need to be like, well, I never played the real Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm pretty happy with that, and by all accounts, very good game as is, especially after Subsistence. So, I'm fine with this. For me, the thing is always, do the visuals feel like they're capturing the spirit of the original? And so far, people seem to say that it is. I have always had those issues with the Blue Point ones, right? Where it's like, oh man, I'm not sure if I like the Shadow of the Colossus the way it looks now compared to the old version. But that's a very specific thing, and it doesn't feel like that's what's happening here.
Yeah. Plus, you don't have to then worry about like, well, now we're editing Kojima, who is just beloved, and we're gonna get so much shit if the decisions we make don't.
That doesn't even feel like it was on the table. It doesn't really feel like a choice they could have made. Yeah, so this is the right move in this situation.
Evo Janice asks, why do Giant Bomb shows need to clap for audio, but this channel doesn't?
Because it's a bad podcast. We talk over people and we do all the shit all the time, so that's why.
Because usually there's just the two of us. It's like the same with Game S Mornings. There's only two of us, so we don't feel the need to record separate tracks. You can kind of level 8 and get away with a lot with just two people. And this show's also pretty popular as like a YouTube show, and there's a lot of people that listen to the podcast. It's growing as like a podcast all the time. But like Bombcast is a podcast first. There are way more listeners on RSS feeds than anywhere else. So making sure that the audio version is as professional as possible has been something that we made a concerted effort. There was a while there where we were just recording the Discord audio and going from there. And there was enough times where it's like, man, that just doesn't sound quite good enough that we decided against doing that anymore.
To clarify why do the clap at all, it's there's a sync point for the editor, aka me, to both see out the waveform and also align when I'm doing the editing. So that way everyone's audio is synced up locally, because since we do the podcast over Discord or an equivalent, everyone's at a slight delay from each other. This way it like keeps us on sync by doing that clap with what would you call that? An independent clock, like time that is.
Exactly. Yes. It's there are ways to do that without having to have a clap. There's what do we used to use? Zencaster. Zencaster was a thing that like will record it and sync it up for you. And
you guys always had so many issues with that.
because they used to use a specific version of Chrome, and it was like I think a lot more browsers are better about that now. People have been saying that they're turning to that stuff. There's Riverside FM, which does that but it also will record a video track at the same time, so you could sync up all that stuff, and that's a bit overkill for our purposes. Having just the clap sync ready to go and sending the files to Sean, and he knows what to do with that real quick. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I'd say once you get used to, as the editor, seeing the clap on the waveform, it's super easy to just line them up and then chop those off, and then into the podcast you go, and it's all synced up and sounds nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe one day we get big enough to have to do that, but for now we just rolling with this.
Beef Hammer says, hey boys, thanks for the advice last month about working on my buns for the girlfriend, but now we got another issue and want to see if you got any more advice. You see, I started a new job recently, and I've been trying to be quiet and not stand out too much, but now I'm dummy thick. And the clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting everyone. What do I do in this situation?
Well, listen, you can't not be dummy thick. That's not an option. So I think you're going to have to own it and say, my body, my choice, and I choose to clap them ass cheeks together when I walk and force people to deal with it.
All right. I know we weren't able to get to every letter in the mailbag here.
We'll save those. Like they're not going to go into some. They're not going to go into some black hole. So if you send in a letter,
I do keep track of those when I line them up for the boys. So if you submit a question tonight and didn't get read, and you don't submit one for next time because that just overwrites it, you will be first in line next time.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Let's take one more break here. We have a couple more super chats and games. Video games. You talk about those.
Wahoo!
We get to how many? We get to...
That was about 20. That was about 20 out of the like 35ish that we had.
Yeah, no, I was going to say we get to like 50K listening on the podcast feed, and we'll do individual tracks. A promise. It's gonna
Okay,
look-
yeah,
it looks
okay,
good.
deal. Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
A goal.
If we overtape the Bombcast, one of the top 15 gaming podcasts in the world, then we'll do that. Yes.
Yeah, what like I have like the chartable. We like are often in the top 25. So that's not always, not like 100% of the time, but frequently we get into the top 25.
End, you know what? When you post those like year-end charts, we actually do pretty good.
Do
Yeah.
pretty well. Yep.
Yeah, let's get going.
Yes, sir.
All right. I was like, I'm so tired right now. I'm just like,
You think about
these
Beast's
guys
ass?
are-
Like, what's going on over there?
I was going on. I was like really sitting here like, these guys are talking about something. When they're done talking, I can start the podcast.
There's guns in that game?
What's glossed over is right before that, I had finished talking about the magic system in the game, and then Jeff's like, "What's the magic?" Like?
That one I was like, I'm pretty sure he mentioned this, so I'm going to couch that in. I think you might have mentioned this, but
you did cover your base there.
that one I was like being a little more careful with. But oh boy,
yeah, good stuff. All right, let's get yeah, let's talk about what we've been playing first, and we can do super chats. All right, Jeff, we're back. While I was in England, I started the most appropriate game I could possibly imagine over there with Thank Goodness You're Here. Actually started it at the London airport and played through the whole thing during my plane travels that trip. Very good airplane game for that. It's basically a kind of interactive cartoon that lasts a few hours. And it was very funny. It was very silly. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it's I think it's a good sit, right? It's like you could just get into it real quick, play through it, and it feels like a full experience in the time it is allotted, and it feels unique. It feels like its own thing, and kind of like I guess it's a riff on adventure games, right? Like it's an adventure game at heart, but it is leaning into the things that make adventure games comedic and sort of turning all that stuff up as much as possible. And I think that's going to make it more welcoming to a lot of people who I don't think traditionally would enjoy adventure games. I think they would enjoy this.
Right. I mean, there's not like calling the things you do here puzzles would probably be generous.
Right. They're sort of just obstacles, challenges that you kind of keep poking at until you find the solution. And again, that like leans into the comedy instead, where it's like, yeah, it's about the jokes, so we're not gonna like make a big deal about it. Yeah, definitely not a ton of puzzles.
Dan Riker in chat says that there were a lot of sex jokes in there. Actually,
I didn't notice that.
Picking up on that now.
Yeah,
I did. I was thinking about that quite a few times. Like that guy shoving the wieners through the hole in the fence.
Yep. The guy talking about the other guy's wife or whatever, and it's like I don't know. The whole anytime Matt Berry spoke about anything in the game was very like suggestive.
Cleaning pipes and anything like that. It was. There was a part of me that's like, look, I do not inherently find English accents funny, but playing this game where, they're being very silly with the accents and, doing all that, and then having my flight attendant just kind of like interrupt my gameplay to be like, you want a biscuit, love? Right? It's like,
and you just turned to her and laughed in her face. Yeah.
Don't laugh at that. That's a genuine question.
Perfect. Very sensitive to other cultures, Mike Minotti.
Yes, that's what they're always saying about me, Jeff. And like the kind of climax of the game, the sort of like, knows this word, but the kind of musical moment at the end, very, very good. I liked that a lot.
I also really like all of the FMV, the really actual video that they use for like the pause screen and the introduction to the game. That stuff is fantastic. Did you see that there is a way to like just not play the game and beat the game? I don't want to spoil things too much, but
I imagine it's exactly like the Far Cry 4 thing is my guess.
Yeah, pretty similar. Yes. So
interesting.
Yep. Very, very. Just a game that knows what it is and does all the things that you would hope it would do if it's going to be that kind of game. So yep, I enjoy it a lot.
Fantastic. But yeah, I talked about starting the Castlevania Dominus collection, a name that I like more and more.
Yeah, me too. I like saying it. Dominus collection. That's good.
Yeah, Dawn of Sorrow, also one of my favorite. Let's work the DS acronym into these names here. So again, just so happy to have those. Going to be playing more of that.
Yep, that's what I'm doing too. I'm playing a lot of that, enjoying it quite a bit. It has been. I don't know if I've played Dawn of Sorrow since it came out, and getting back in there and playing it again and be like, oh, this game is immediately fantastic. I'm having a great time. Is this? I think you get a gun in Aria of Sorrow. Can you get a gun in this one?
I believe so.
I love having the handgun in the Castlevania games.
Dawn of Sorrow is also the one with the really good Julius mode, because it's like Castlevania 3 where you can switch between him and Alucard and the Magic Lady. So that's like also very much worth playing. And it even has like its own story sequences. So basically there's 2 campaigns in Dawn of Sorrow. God, just a very good game. Ooh, can't wait to play through all of these. Thank God it's going to be very easy. Just bring my Switch with me to Seattle.
Yep. And then I've been playing Episode 1 Racer. I got my podcast race shirt on right now. I've been enjoying. God, that's good on Switch. It's just a really good version. I think
works so well.
Yeah, I think the version on Steam is like an older release. I don't think it's the same thing as the one on Switch. So when the Switch, because it was on sale a couple weeks ago and I just missed it. I'm like, I'll just pay full price. And then I missed it. Then I was like kind of waiting around and it went on sale again. And I think it was like $8 or something like that. And I had almost enough gold coins to cover that. So I spent like 90 cents buying Episode 1 Racer. Let me tell you, that's a pretty good deal for that game because it's so much fun. It rules. I love the presentation, the early FMV CGI scenes. Those renderings look so good in that old style of, we can do this. Let's see how much we can get away with. And actually having all these planet introductions be that way was very cool. And then the courses are just really well done. Like, there's like a lot of great twists and turns where it feels like you are barely controlling these things and upgrading your racer and focusing on like, oh man, I actually do wish I had improved air brakes. Like that would be huge for some of these moves, and feeling that difference immediately when you go to the next race. Just a well put together product from the beginning.
Yeah, that presentation is so important. You have those fun intros to the tracks with the commentary from the commentators from the actual movie, and like each planet has its own Jabba the Hutt-esque character too, the kind of like patriarch or matriarch of that race course, which is fun. Yeah, that career mode where you are like exchanging and getting new parts or even new racers. It's not just that the mechanics of the game are great, and they are, but the presentation, just the way that the career works is fantastic. And I love that boost feature. This is maybe my favorite boost in a racing game, more so than that kind of burnout style. You get it for doing tricks, or the Mario Kart snaking or drift style. I love this idea. It's like, can you kind of keep your steering to a minimum long enough that you can hold those sticks forward? If you do it long enough, then you can boost. I think that feels fantastic.
It's a good boost mechanic, like one of the better ones in a sci-fi racing game. It's very engaging. I just always feel like I got to be paying attention to what's going on, because I got to be able to use this boost, especially as you get into the later cups, where it's like, oh, now the racers are actually keeping up with me, and I can see them at all times, as opposed to like in the first round where it's like you're just leaving everyone in your dust. Now it's like, okay, every time you can get a boost and you're going, instead of 500 kilometers an hour, you're going 800 kilometers an hour, almost double. It's like, oh, that's super important to do that as frequently as possible. So yeah, just a good mechanic all around. Feels really good. I wish they would do more with pod racing and Star Wars. Honestly, someone should tell. Is there a good like extended universe Legends novel about like the pod racing world? Because I think just having the suggestion of like there's all these patriarchs, like you said, running each one of these races, and they all feel like, even like though there's like one guy, he's like, I'm a monk. You get the sense that there's all kinds of crime like happening around the edges of the races. Like there's probably a lot of fun stuff they could do with that. I would love to read a story about that. That'd be cool. Need
more pod racing. Pod racing is, it was definitely the best thing to come out of the prequels. That's for sure.
Yep.
And I want to make something clear. I know on Twitter I said that Episode 1 Racer is the best racing game on the Switch, and I meant that.
Okay, cool. All right, stand your ground. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
When you wrote that, a lot of people were like, that's crazy. I'm like, that's not crazy at all. I'm like,
it's not that crazy.
It's not crazy at all. It's like, it's an argument.
Especially if you understand that I like and don't love Mario Kart, then you can see how I get there.
Right, exactly. Yes. But no, listen, Episode 1 Racer is in the conversation for me as well. Beyond that, the thing I've been playing the most has been Star Wars Outlaws, not on Switch. That's taken up a lot of time, but I'm enjoying that. So pretty good game.
I like how there's some people who like this is a controversy that there's a 7 out of 10 game exists. It's
yes,
like, no, there's not.
Yep. It's just gonna be one of those games where the mileage is going to be either improved or you don't care because it's Star Wars. And if you don't care, this game's almost certainly not for you, and you can happily skip it.
I want to be playing it. I'm a little like, there's a couple things here that I'm missing the zeitgeist on. That I haven't been able to touch the World of Warcraft expansion just because of all the traveling, right?
Oh, you mean GameSpot's World of Warcraft?
Yeah, that one. Thank you for clarifying. I forgot for a second. Gosh, I need to take some staycation days maybe once all the traveling is done. I haven't even finished Dawn Trail yet.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I've had to go through that campaign, which
that must
apparently
suck,
is better.
If you haven't beat that yet,
yeah,
you must hate
I'll officially say it's disappointing.
Yep,
I
there
think
it is.
The campaign is
Animal.
I think that they missed the beat a little bit with the campaign on this one. Now look, that's that. There's a million other things to the expansion that I'm sure I'll enjoy, but of the main storyline quest.
Bring back AJ.
Yeah.
Where is AJ? Somebody bring AJ.
Well,
Just bring back AJ.
Oh my God! What's gonna happen next, Christian? Are we gonna talk about Concord? You got to pipe in about how you like it actually again.
Concord is a good game. Shut the fuck up.
How far am I? Asked John Carson. Maybe a little bit less than halfway. And I hear the back half is better. So there you go. Anything else you played, Jeff?
I'm trying to think. Not too much. I do have my Switch right here. Let me take a quick glance at it. Oh wait, it's plugged into the thing, so the screen won't turn on. But no, for the most part, it's just been kind of staying on top of Outlaws. So yeah, that's really been kind of it for me.
Well, why don't you read the rest of these super chats and we'll get out of here.
Sounds good. All right. Let me see. I think we have this one here from Willow Davis. Is there any hope left for seeing Rouge in Sonic 3? Yeah, I think there's hope, right? Wasn't she in one of the post-credit scenes?
No, just Shadow was.
Just Shadow was?
Yeah, now you're just making things up.
I gotta say, I don't think I ever really sat down to watch Sonic 2, so...
Wow, that's insane to me. No, it's not. God, there is something wild. There's something especially wild about watching a trailer for a movie that is largely an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah,
it's like
it's a weird timeline we've entered.
Especially since they got bullied into this success, right?
Right.
Like,
yes,
this would not have happened if they released the movie they wanted.
It's got to be one of bullying's greatest accomplishments, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, right?
I think
like
you're right.
Mount Rushmore of bullying success stories. Sonic the Hedgehog.
It was a big blow to the anti-bullying movement. Because even at that time, people were like, "Oh, fans shouldn't be able to dictate what these artists do." It's like, I think it worked out this time.
They're like, "Oh boy, it's a fine line between criticism and bullying." And let's be clear, this was bullying, but it worked.
I thought that trailer was fun. It's in line with what I expect for the tone of these movies. I think Keanu's a very, very good choice for Shadow the Hedgehog. I like that casting a lot.
Yep, that's fun. Postman Dan says, knowing that the Alpha 3 port is the arcade/Saturn port, what is your hope for more Saturn releases?
I need to learn more about this Alpha 3 upper because we already have Street Fighter Alpha 3 in that Street Fighter Anniversary collection that's on Switch. So I'm curious to learn what the differences are on this one. But Saturn, I mean, gosh, so many of the Capcom ones are the Versus games or the Alpha games. So I feel like we have most of those. There's probably things that I'm missing there. And then some of the other ones I think are on the first Capcom fighting game collection. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're good on Capcom Saturn games anyways. It's really the Sega stuff on the Saturn that we need to get off of there. Give me my goddamn Burning Rangers. Give me Bug 1 and 2 Remaster. There we go. Get Night Dive on that. I want Bug back. Gotta have my Bug.
Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's a fun game. They should port that somewhere else.
Yeah, remember they remade Panzer Dragoon?
Yeah,
this generation.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah, that was strange. I think they got it to a point where it was pretty respectable after a shaky launch.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just have a collection of ports of those all four of those games.
Yep, absolutely. L. Grug with the final super chat here that I have registered. So I was looking for a puzzle game to play, and a friend recommended me the Pushmo games, especially the Wii U ones. Any experience with these games? Mike, you've never played any of these, right?
You guys, I like how I listen to the shows.
I thought you might be too busy because you were traveling so much.
Yeah, but I was traveling so much that I was on a plane with.
You were listening to a
podcast. I'm a good sleeper. I can't sleep for just 9 hours on planes. I will say I was pretty stunned because I was like, man, I do not remember playing it, and I had to think pretty hard in the back of my head to be like, maybe I did. I haven't looked this up yet. Let me look up Push Mo World.
Yes.
Games Beat.
Yep.
Review, because this
I was surprised that you listen to stuff that you're on it without when you're not on it, like this.
No, I do all the time. I like my friends. No, I always listen. Listen. People see, I'm not just egotistical. I like my friends, and I think they do good shows.
I thought you were full on crazy, but
Beef, he like remembered eventually, is what Mike said. It like took him a minute to remember. It did not immediately like come back to him. Is that right?
It is,
no.
Yes, it's not much better.
Beef has an idea. Okay.
What's the idea?
No, he's just like, if Mike didn't immediately remember, he might be cooking.
Am I getting my own game? I would like that. I think that'd be fun.
I would say that now.
I would love
Jeff
that.
did very good on his. He only missed one, I think, or
yes,
two,
I missed one. Yes.
and that destroyed him. Look at
But did you see him squirm?
It did,
that
yes.
was the real
It did
gold
destroy
right there.
me. Yeah.
I'm kind of weirded out looking at this because I'm like, I guess I played this, and there's no way I would just lie.
No,
right? Like,
yeah, of course
I would
not.
do
Yeah.
that. But
I mean, listen, the reality is, like, I don't think Pushmo was your thing all that much, and it just wasn't very memorable.
I think it was not very memorable to me. And I mean, plus, I'll tell you what, being a Wii U game is a strike too. Like that whole console, I was just never able to really develop a relationship with that console, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're no Scott the Woz, yeah, for sure.
No Scott the Woz, that's absolutely right. So, okay. Yeah, apparently I reviewed, that was the one that did get me. It's like, I did review Pushmo World, okay, if you say so.
Honestly, I almost said that I did review that one. It was very close to me saying yes on that one. So finding out I didn't was also kind of a little bit scary.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't have any more super chats here. We are all caught up on everything. Yeah, good show, Mike.
Was it Emron who originally sent in that whole "sometimes when you just recorded"?
Yeah, he said remember he had a dream about listening, doing the podcast, and we said
my
that.
new coworker now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Love Emron.
Check out GamesBeat, everybody. Emron's working on some good stuff there.
You want me to hit the button, Mike?
Please. Let's go to sleep. Let's not say anything else. Let's go to sleep.
Okay.
Song's so fucking stupid.
And that's what makes it great.
I hate this song so much.
God, it's just the worst taste, man. Jesus. God, you only like the good songs. That's stupid.
Episode 1 has an amazing soundtrack. I know it's cheating. It's Star Wars music, but
we can't use that. We'll get in trouble. Yeah, but God, that music is very good.
When they play the Force theme, woo, baby.
Bye, everybody. Oh yeah. Cruising blast.
I have to poop. I am an animal. Till I see evidence that the world is round, I'm not believing a damn thing.